What is up, and welcome back to another episode of Going Beyond the Castle. I was super excited to be here with my co-host Lori until she disappeared. So she will be back eventually. But yeah, super excited to be back tonight. Especially super excited because we've got another guest with us this week, Lauren. Um, so Lauren, welcome to Going Beyond the Castle. Super excited to have you
Yeah,
here.
thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Of course. Well, look who's back. Welcome back, Lori.
You're back.
We're off to a great start.
It's just to go along with the week.
Yep.
Yes, apparently. So, as I was saying, super excited to be back this week now with my co-host Lori, as we dive into something that I have honestly never thought about, which is Disney and food allergies. So, super excited for everybody, including myself, to learn some stuff tonight. Before we dive in, as always, thanks for tuning in and joining with us and listening every week. We wouldn't be anywhere without our listeners, so we definitely appreciate you guys. And before I turn it over to Lori, I'm going to steal one of her announcements and say happy anniversary to her and Josh. Super excited for you guys. You guys are such an awesome couple, married couple, to just kind of see and be around and just be a great example. So, one, congratulations to you guys, and two, thank you for being awesome.
Thank you.
Goals.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to you and let you handle our announcements.
Sweet. And I may just kind of run through these a little bit quicker than normal, just because if I have any internet issues, feel free to go on without me. So just in case you don't know, New Orleans is on the brink of snow. We never get snow in the area. Yes, it's like all the rave. And so today, prior to what everyone's calling Snowmageddon, we had an issue here in our parish where someone hit a fire hydrant and also knocked down a electricity pole. So we have a lot of issues going on today. So we haven't had water all day. Electricity's spotty. So if my internet cuts out, that's what's going on. But anyway, so fun new promotion just released for those who want to take a dive on over to Alani over in Hawaii. There's a 25% off discount right now for 5 nights or more. Travel days are from April to June. So you want to get that Alani trip in with a discount, hit up Fred or I, and we can help you with that. All the villain fans, we've been talking a lot about villains things happening. The newest Disney cruise ship, the Disney Destiny, is set to release next year. And I didn't realize this until just recently looking at it, that it's heroes and villains themed along the ship. So I think that'll be super cool for those villains fans. One of the ones that I left off that Fred graciously reminded me about was that the new Tropical America's Land, they broke ground for that just recently over at Animal Kingdom. So sad news that Dino Land is just about out of here for all the Dino Land fans. At least we get to keep Dinosaur for a little while. So maybe Josh and I will head over to Animal Kingdom to ride it one more time when we go in February. Also, some exciting news coming out of Epic Universe. We know that's set to open up in May. They've released the early park entry attractions that'll be available starting on May 23rd. For the early park hours, you can head up Mario Kart, Yoshi's Adventure, Minecart Madness, and the Stardust Racers. So those would be your, I guess, rope drop rides when you're heading over to Epic Universe. And then just a couple of fun announcements. Space Mountain turned 50 on January 15th, which is crazy that I'm older than Space Mountain, but okay, we'll just roll.
I would have never guessed it, Lori.
Just roll with it. I was like, really? It's only 50? Gosh. Anyway, and then another fun one that we like to talk about is National Plan for Vacation Day, which is January 28th. So if you don't have a vacation plan for this year, it's a perfect day to get one on the books. And then, as Fred said, today is my anniversary. So I wanted to give a shout out to my husband, Josh. We have been married for 23 years. And thanks to the flu, I've been sick all weekend, so we didn't get to celebrate, but we'll make it up next weekend or when we're in Disney in a couple of weeks. So happy anniversary, Josh. Very blessed to have him and super excited to be celebrating our 23-year anniversary. And so with that said, I think that's about it for announcements.
Cool. Okay. Lots of good
I
announcements.
felt like I was talking. Pastor Terry's going to tell me to slow down. I felt like that
Probably.
was.
I think it was great. You're nervous about your internet because you have PTSD from the last.
Yes, I don't know why. Well, last time we were having the weather hadn't even started yet, just like today. I think it just knows the weather's coming and it's getting ready.
Time to upgrade your internet.
Possibly.
Okay.
We also have a lot of stuff streaming in the house too. I have two. Well, Braden's not a teenager anymore, but all five of us stream a lot.
Yeah. Okay. Let's dive into my favorite topic is always food.
Yep.
Super excited to talk food from a different aspect today. So again, Lauren, welcome to the podcast. Super excited to hear your side of eating at Disney. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience with Disney, as well as your experience with food allergies in Disney?
Absolutely. Well, thanks again for having me. And Lori, again, congrats. 23 years. That's awesome. And I'm
Thank
hopeful
you.
for you that in a week you are just feeling so much better and you guys can celebrate, or you just have to live it up in Disney in a couple of
Absolutely.
weeks. Great.
Yes.
Yes. As far as for me, I have two children, and my oldest was diagnosed with food allergies very young at 8 months old. And naturally, when you're a first time parent, you don't know what you're doing to begin with. And then you have something like food allergies come along. And truly, I really didn't understand or really have much experience with food allergy as well. And I learned there's a lot of information out there that's probably not totally accurate. And so when I say food allergy, I just want to be clear what I'm talking about first, because that's different than like a food intolerance. That's a separate thing. What I'm talking about is actual food allergy, which is an IgE response. You have these antibodies in your blood that aren't supposed to be there, that are essentially reacting to these foods in a way that's triggering your immune system to do stuff it's not supposed to be doing. I'm not a doctor, but that's kind of the layman's way of explaining food allergy. And in the worst cases, you have something called anaphylaxis, which is that life-threatening response that can happen, and that's what EpiPens are for. And so when I say food allergy, that's what I'm talking about. Food allergies that actually have the potential for a life-threatening response. And so they are serious. They are a serious medical condition. Not to say that intolerances are not serious. I'm just trying to differentiate what we're actually talking about. We're not talking about a tummy ache, right? We're talking about this is a 911 ER call. And so it really changes the way that you approach food, right? Especially when it comes to your kids. And so how do we go out to eat? How do we know what's okay to eat? How do we really start to relearn how to do this with food allergies? And Disney's really special because Disney was actually the first place that actually cooked food for my son. I had done all of his cooking and my husband as well, just preparing meals for him because we knew that it was prepared in our home in a way that was safe for what he needed. But when he was almost 2, we tried to venture out and do our first trip as a family. And we actually came to Disney and we went to Saratoga Springs. And I remember sitting at the Turf Club and I was an absolute nervous wreck. But the chef actually came out, Chef Lauren came out, and she spoke with me and my family. I was able to communicate to her exactly what my son's food allergies were, and she was able to talk through what their options were for him in her kitchen. And I just remember her coming out with a plate of food, and I knowing her level of education on this and understanding of what I was talking about, I knew that it was okay for my son to eat it, and he ate it, and it was our first actual meal sitting together out to eat as a family. And truly, it was an emotional experience. I, at one point, was crying and hugging the chef. She probably still thinks I'm a little bit out there, but it was a really big deal to trust somebody else with my son and with something that is as serious as it is. And so Disney really became a special place for our family because they are equipped to prepare food in a way that was safe for my son, and I know for many other food allergy families as well.
Yeah, I find it interesting because I have an old coworker. He used to be in the army with me. Now he's out, but him and his family go to Disney 2 to 3 times a year.
Yeah.
And he texted me the other day when he was at Disney, and he was like, "Fun fact: I'm allergic to calamari, and I just found out at Disney, and
Yep.
it was the best experience of my life, just because of how well they handled
Right.
everything."
Right.
Like Disney really does go above and beyond with you know helping ensure that people are taken care of when it comes to any allergies or
Yep.
anything like that that they need. So,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
um, cool, cool. Lori, anything to add?
No, I think it's awesome. And I don't have any allergies myself, but was on a trip with my agency. We did a trip, and there was several of the agents there who had allergies. And so, getting firsthand and sitting there at the table and seeing how it was handled,
Mm-hmm.
Disney definitely does a great job with making sure that, the allergies are taken seriously.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome. Yeah.
Okay. Cool, cool. I think it's. I think she answered both of my questions, so I think it's your turn.
Yeah, I think so too. And even yeah. So if you were given advice to travelers with food
Mhm.
allergies, what is your advice to them to, when they're planning their Disney vacation, like how they should, kind of start the process?
Absolutely. There's a couple things that I recommend to the clients that I'm working with, many of whom work with me because they have food allergies. And so we can just talk through all of these things. There's a couple of things I have them do ahead of time. One is on the My Disney Experience app, if you're going to Disney World, and even for Disneyland, they have this as well. But you can actually scroll through on many of the restaurant sites. They've got their menus uploaded, and many of them already have allergy friendly menus preloaded in there. So you can see what's available on those allergy friendly menu offerings before you even get to where these places are going to go. And so that's really helpful for planning. Okay, I want to do quick service at this park this day. What are maybe some of the best places that I could start to go to first to see? I always recommend communication is key. Communicating with the staff. Disney does it so well. It's essential for traveling with food allergies to actually talk to somebody when you're there. So I wouldn't just go on the app and look up the menu and just decide that's what you're going to order, because ingredients can change, menus can change. You really need to check out what's going on that day when you're there in that specific restaurant. But this is a great way to do some pre-planning because there's so many places to eat at Disney, right? And so this helps just start to narrow that down a little bit based on what food allergies you're managing and what you're going to need. I'd also say for families that are managing more than 4 food allergies, there is actually a specialty email that you can contact Disney ahead of time, and they will set up a meeting, talk to you about a couple of weeks before your trip, just to see what options are available for you. And so that's another great way to get in contact with them before you're even on site. Once you're on site, there's a lot of things that Disney does as well. When you're making those reservations in your app, it'll actually ask you, and you guys have probably seen this too when you're making your reservations, are there any food allergies? It's right in the app. You can select all of the top 9 are in there along with a couple others and a box for other for families who have a food allergy that's not in the US top 9 here. And so you can notate other, and then they'll ask you again when you check in at the seating host booth. They'll ask you what your allergies are, and they can pull out the appropriate menus and start the process at the restaurant. From there, I actually also recommend the chefs will come out and talk to you at the table. I personally, that's what we do every time. The wait staff and the servers at Disney truly are phenomenal. They know these menus, they know their kitchens, but they are not the ones preparing the food. And so with something like food allergy, it's so great that Disney does this, and I recommend it to anybody traveling with food allergies. But you can request that the chef will come out to your table and talk through what they've got going on in their kitchen and what options would be best for your needs that day.
Yeah, I know we talk a lot about planning and like, oh, Disney's so much planning and we have to plan every minute. But I feel like this is a topic that's so important that you definitely want to plan ahead. And I think that's a great tip, to have folks start looking at the menus ahead of time.
Mm-hmm.
because we're booking dining reservations 60 days in advance.
Right.
So you have time before that, to kind of
Right.
to look over things. So that's definitely a great tip to kind of get some ideas. It's definitely something that, you want to spend some time in. And so you're not there, because I feel like that would bring a lot of frustration if you wait till the last minute and you just show up and you're trying to find things, that could potentially, hinder your time there.
Right. One of the things that can create a lot of stress for food allergy families is you're tired, you're in the parks, and you need to find food, and you've got either a cranky family or cranky kids. And that's just not that kind of pressure to try to find something that's going to work in that moment is not what we're trying to do. We're trying to eliminate the stress of that ahead of time by doing some of this pre-work. And I also recommend to families that they do pack a cooler. Disney will allow you to bring in a cooler. Can't have ice, like loose ice, can't do that, but you can have ice packs in your cooler and bring that in as an option. And that's something I always do with my kids too, is we always just have a few things that we know are safe grab and go snacks, or we can pack some sandwiches. So I've always got something in case we're having a little longer of a time or having trouble finding something that's going to work, especially when they're in those really busy park days. And maybe we just have a lot of rides we want to get to that day, and we just need some stuff that's faster on the go.
Yeah. And you mentioned with noting it in the app when you're making dining reservations. How important do you feel it is to do that in the app? Because I've had some questions before where if it's noted in the app, but maybe it's not something, the reservation that they're going to maybe they won't interfere with allergies. Is it going to mess up the rest of their reservations? Is it going to be an issue like every single time that they go to eat, that they're going to have to go through the same conversations? And, so is it super important in your end to note it in there, or is it better to just talk about it at the restaurants?
So the noting it in the reservation is going to pull it up on the screen when the seating hostess checks you in, for example. And so if you forgot, for example, to put it in the app when you make your dining reservation, you're going to have another chance when you do check in. I just recommend to do it for the benefit of you, that it's notated on your reservation, but also that they can then get the appropriate allergy menus ready for you. They actually do I don't want to say that I know exactly how Disney is doing this because I don't work there, but from what I've seen, they are actually printing my family separate tickets for the allergy people at the table, because Disney has protocols where sometimes they're preparing that food in a different part of the kitchen. It's notated to the kitchen staff there. And so there's a process that Disney is doing that is going to be separate from somebody who doesn't have food allergies. And so putting it in the app is important, but really it's when you check into the restaurant itself, you're talking with the people that are there so that they're starting that whole process in motion for you before you're even walked to your table. That's really where it counts. Doing it in the app is what's going to start that process ahead of time. But it's kind of the safety net, essentially, when you check in at the restaurant. A note about quick service that I would say too, because obviously these are two different things. We're talking about these dining reservations versus quick service. Those are two different things. And a lot of people shy away maybe from quick service because it's not the same process. What you can do with quick service is actually walk up, you know how they have the registers there where you're going to pay for your food or place your order. You can actually request at that point that you need to speak with somebody about food allergies, and they will actually go and get somebody from the kitchen, a chef from the kitchen, to come out and speak with you. I've had people bring out a full ingredient binder for me so that we can see exactly what is in these French fries that I want to order, or whatever it is that we're looking at on the menu. And then they can make sure, that they can either accommodate or not accommodate what we're trying to order at the restaurant. So that'd be a way to do that with quick service.
Awesome.
So you mentioned quick service.
Mm-hmm.
So big fan of quick service.
Love
big
quick
fan
service.
of mobile ordering because I'm
Yes.
super lazy and have no desire to stand in line. How does food allergies and mobile ordering work?
I don't recommend it. I wish that I could. I don't recommend it. And the reason
taking that
being is
chance,
you need
feel
to
like.
talk to somebody about your food allergies. And the hard part with food allergy is you can order the same thing from the same restaurant 20 times. But on the 21st time, if they've changed an ingredient back there and you don't know about it, I mean, it's just every time you're going to consume something with food allergy, you have to to go through the process to check it, because the consequences are so high, because it has this
Mhm.
potential for this life-threatening reaction. And that's one of the hardest things I think that there is about traveling with food allergies in particular, is food allergies demands a vigilance that you don't live with when you're not navigating life with food allergies, at least around food. There's vigilance that a lot of other things that we navigate as people that it requires different circumstances. But that's one thing that I would say with food allergy is this constant just attention and vigilance to the food that you're eating, and what's being prepared and how is it being prepared. And when you're on vacation, you want to let your guard down and kind of just relax a little bit. And unfortunately, with food
Mhm.
allergy, you do have to stay on it. You do have to communicate. And even though mobile order is so slick and convenient and awesome,
Yeah.
it's great. When you're navigating serious food allergies, I don't recommend it to my clients.
Yeah, so it sounds like moral of the story is, like, you just wanna make sure you have those in-person conversations,
You do. You
like,
do.
or
Yeah.
else it's just you're taking that chance.
Yep. And
I've
different
got a
families have different comfort levels because food allergies are different. I mean, there's a
yeah,
range, just like
The
anything.
severity.
There's a
Yeah.
range
yeah,
of circumstances with people, and how they're choosing to navigate it. But that's my recommendation to
cool,
clients.
cool.
Yep.
Sweet.
Um, do you feel having the experience that you do with Disney, do you feel that there are certain, like, restaurants that stand out that are really good with accommodating food allergies?
Yes, absolutely. So, one of my favorite character experiences on Disney property is Topolino's Terrace, the breakfast. It's phenomenal. The chefs there, it's just top notch. They'll come out, they'll talk to you. It doesn't matter how busy it is, and I know it's a lot for them, but they are so gracious and so wonderful to come to the table and just take that time. Steakhouse 71 is another restaurant that my family absolutely loves. Turf Club at Saratoga Springs, the chef there, Chef Jeremy, my family got connected to Chef Jeremy through Chef Lauren, who was the original chef there, who had cooked for our family for that first time. And they just do a wonderful job. It's a really nice steak if you want a good steak. Steakhouse 71 is great.
Always, always.
But a lot of people too ask about like something like Chef Mickey's, where it's more of a buffet
Buffet.
style, and how does that work with food allergy? And what I say is that it doesn't. And so, what you can do though is, it doesn't mean you can't go to Chef Mickey's. When you go to Chef Mickey's, what my family does, we actually did this at Goofy's Kitchen, which is essentially like Chef Mickey's in Disneyland. It's a buffet style, but it's Goofy's Kitchen. And the chefs there, actually, you can have one of two options. They actually walked us through the entire buffet, telling us this is okay, this is okay, this is not. Like, they knew the menus that well. Or they, per our family's needs, they actually prepared my son's food
Mhm.
in the back of the kitchen away from the buffet. So we're not dealing with his allergens on the buffet and people just using the wrong spoon and the wrong tongs. And that's just a recipe for a problem when you have
Yeah.
food
Mhm.
allergies. And so to have them prepared in the back still allowed us to do that character experience, which was wonderful, without having to deal with the buffet. So I always encourage people to talk to the chefs there. Don't shy away from the buffet, but I do say exercise caution when actually eating from the buffet. I prefer to have the food prepared in the back.
Gotcha. So buffets are totally doable. It's just you gotta. I guess it requires a little bit more effort than
Yes,
ordering from a a la carte type place.
yes,
Okay.
and I like
Uh,
Topolino's Terrace
oh,
the best. But Chef Mickey's is kind of iconic, and it's in the contemporary. I mean, it's
it is.
great.
It's a
It's a great
yeah, great
restaurant as well.
experience.
Yes,
Yeah,
it is.
I got a family going in March, and they were like, "We have no desire to make any dining reservations and be like confined to a time to eat, but we are not going without a reservation to Chef Mickey's." I was like, "Okay, all right,
All right.
whatever."
Yes.
You
Fun stuff.
mentioned that a couple times that you've had the chefs come out, have a personal conversation with you.
Yes.
Is that pretty common among
Yes.
the all the like sit down restaurants?
Yes, they call it a chef's consult. We actually just were at Cinderella's table for my daughter's 5-year birthday
Nice.
last weekend. And even in a setting like that, the chef still came to the table, reviewed the menu, and we had a wonderful breakfast together. So at every restaurant that I've attended to in Disney World or frequented, the chef has been willing to
Yeah.
come out to the table. We've never had them not be willing to do that. Depending on your needs, sometimes the allergy menu itself might be sufficient for a family. But for my family, the chef will come out, and my kids actually think this is normal that you see the chef at Disney. We have pictures with the chef. It's like a whole thing. One of the chefs has been cooking for my family for 5 years, and like watching the kids grow up. So
That's
it's
awesome.
fun to connect with people that way. But obviously, we try to be mindful of their time as well.
Man, this is why I like Disney. Disney's just the best.
They're
They really
phenomenal.
are.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, cool. Lori,
Yeah.
it's your turn.
Yeah. So I know you mentioned some of your favorite table service restaurants. Do you have any favorite quick service restaurants that are
So
accommodating?
now, when I say favorite, am I saying this is the best food that you'll ever have in your life? No. So I just want to
Right.
preface it with that. It's theme park food, but I actually really like Pinocchio's Village House in Magic Kingdom, even though the food is the food.
Yeah.
But they were wonderfully accommodating. And what's really nice for us is to take that break where we get the table right by It's a Small World and you can watch the boats go
Yep.
by. That's kind of a
Yep.
great break for our family. If we're talking Magic Kingdom too, Cosmic Rays, the manager there was absolutely wonderful. They actually went to the back. They're the ones that brought out the giant binder. This was a few years ago when my son had some additional allergies that were a little more challenging than what we have now, and they went through everything with us, and we were able to sit down and have our quick service dinner. So those two for Magic Kingdom. I'm trying to think from the other parks. It's not a quick service, but the Princess Dining in Epcot was also wonderfully phenomenal. I can never pronounce it correctly.
I can't either, but I know
well,
exactly what you're talking about.
It's the one right by
I'm pretty
Frozen.
sure.
Yeah, I thought about
I am
trying to
pretty
pronounce it. I was like, I'm not
sure-
going to do it.
No, I'm pretty sure it's Akershus
Is that
because
how you
I
say
always
it?
said Akershus. And so we were there one year and I went up to him. We were going to ride Frozen. And I
Mhm.
was like, okay, how do you say the name of this restaurant?
This
Because I know I'm saying it wrong. And I'm pretty sure she was saying Akershus.
Mhm.
Actors.
Yeah.
So
There it is. And that another phenomenal above and beyond experience. I will say one of the things that I think is confusing about how food allergies are handled is not every restaurant is owned by Disney, even though they're in a Disney park or in Disney Springs,
Yeah.
for example. And so in Epcot, you have a lot of the festival or the different restaurants in World Showcase, for example, or quick service there. And so just understanding that not every restaurant is owned by Disney, meaning their food allergy protocols are going to be different than Disney. And so that's something that I do need to talk through with clients so they're understanding, look, just because, we're in Disney Springs, I actually don't recommend eating in Disney Springs with food allergies, save for a couple of places, because it's a different experience. And so if you're dealing with a level of you really can't do cross contact and things like that, it changes the game a little bit. And same in Epcot. And I believe there's a couple in Animal Kingdom as well that are coming to mind. So that's just something to be aware of. There's a big list that I try to stay updated on which ones are actually owned by Disney, and those are the ones I recommend clients to go to get the food allergy protocols that we're discussing right now.
Yeah. Well, and you mentioned Cosmic Rays. We had chatted about that.
Oh,
Was that last week?
love Yeah.
I actually like the burger at Cosmic Rays.
I
I'm
love
like,
Cosmic Rays. Love
it's
Cosmic
so
Rays.
good.
The
Yes.
only reason we
I'm
didn't go
like,
last time was because we tried Columbia Harbor House for the first time.
Okay.
It was the
Yeah.
only reason. But normally we're always a
Yeah.
Cosmic Rays family.
Yeah, it's a great spot to
it
take
is.
take a break, get some food.
Yes, I love the burgers there. Sorry. So what about snacks? So, when you go into Disney, of course, we're all about the snacks, the Mickey shaped snacks, the ice cream bars, and
Yes.
all of those things. How difficult is it, or is it, to find allergy-friendly snacks and the special treats that Disney offers?
Yeah, so some of the specialty favorite ones that I think of, a Dole Whip is kind of an iconic Disney treat, and that one is free from most of the top 9 food allergens. And so again, depending on what you would, and this is the pineapple dole whip, I want to be clear, they do have like vanilla flavors. Those ones do,
Yeah.
there's some that do contain dairy. So for my dairy allergy families, you gotta be careful there with which Dole Whip you're getting. But Dole Whip is one that a lot of people love to get to enjoy at Disney. There's also allergy-friendly Mickey beignets over at Port Orleans French Quarter that my family loves. They are so good and so delicious. There are some that aren't the Mickey shape, depending on what allergy ones you need to get. But there are some delicious beignets over there. I highly recommend. We like to park our car in Disney Springs sometimes and just ride the boat, go get beignets. It's kind of awesome, especially if you time it at night. You come back, see the lights at Disney Springs. It's a great evening. I also would say the popcorn, a lot of people are surprised. It's not butter on there. And so again, with everything that I'm saying, all the ingredients could change tomorrow. And so it's just like you have to just stay, you have to stay
on top of it. Yeah.
Suppliers change. I mean, so it just, you do have to stay on it. But these are ones that we look for. For example, my son navigates really severe peanut and tree nut allergies, but we love the popcorn. Some of the popcorn booths are serving nuts, kind of those roasted nuts or whatever, alongside the popcorn. We would choose not to get the popcorn from that kiosk. We would go and get the popcorn from the kiosk that's only serving popcorn. And so there's just some nuances there where even if the ingredient isn't there, it's going to depend on what a family needs from what else is being served in that specific kiosk or cart. But all of the carts actually have a binder that a lot of people don't know about, that if you ask for it, they will pull out the binder for you, and there's an ingredients list in there, and you can actually flip through the pages, and you're trying to find out if this churro is okay or this Mickey pretzel is okay, and you can actually read the ingredients of what's in there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Since we're talking about snacks, have you ever tried I'm going to bring up my favorite. Have you ever tried the pumpkin spice macaron ice cream sandwich?
Okay, that sounds delicious. And no, I have not tried that.
Okay. That's like my favorite Disney snack ever. And it's only in the fall. So
yeah.
If you don't, go ahead.
No, go ahead. If I don't, what?
Lori, if your agency trip is not in the fall, we're renting a 15-passenger van. We're loading our families up, and we're just gonna go in October. Even if it's a 24-hour trip, we're going, and we're gonna get
just to go to Epcot and get one.
Yeah,
I'm down. I am down.
I'll steal a 15-passenger van from work. And just won't tell them what it's for.
We won't go to jail, huh? Stealing military equipment.
I'll take it back.
Just borrow it. It's fine.
We were saying I've gone to Disney in the fall for the last 3 years, and that's like the one thing that I always get. So this year, we're not sure when our agency trip is going to be. So if it's I'm just worried if it's a little bit later than normal if they don't have them. I'm going to be upset, but it'll be okay. But I'm like, maybe they'll have a different one that I can try.
Maybe.
Probably not.
And I'll get a new favorite.
I'm really into the cheeseburger.
Cheeseburger spring rolls
right now.
I haven't tried those.
They're so delicious. And the line is never, at least when I've been there, like egregiously long. And so you just kind of circle through it, and grab those, and they're delicious. I really want to go to Nomads in Animal Kingdom and try the churros. I've heard rave reviews. They're like totally different than the park churros apparently. And so they've got like dipping sauces, and I'm super invested emotionally into finding out what those are like. So I want to go swing by over there and see what's up with these churros.
Yum.
We need to have a Disney snacks episode where that's all we talk about.
That's all we talk about.
Yes. Yes, let's put that. I'll put that on the ideas tab, and we can throw that in there.
Just snacks.
Yeah, so I know you talked a little bit about Epcot not being the favorite. So I would imagine, like for the seasonal events, like the Flower and Garden festivals or Food and Wine, I guess it's maybe a little more difficult during those type things to get.
It can be. We just did Festival of the Holidays as a family here in December, and you know how they give you the little passport booklet. There's actually a dedicated page on there for allergy-friendly options, and so it had a QR code, and we just pulled up the QR code, and it would actually say at each booth
Wow.
what the allergens were in the food that was there. And so that really helped us kind of navigate the festival on, oh, well, we could go get this cookie because it, doesn't say it has our allergens in it. And then whenever we got to a booth, we would still ask somebody. And
Hmm.
Disney's so awesome. It's like we're in the middle of this festival, right? And the lines weren't actually too bad when we were there, but they actually would call for us. They would call the chef and talk to them about, they asked what our allergies were. We said, look, it says this on the booklet, but again, you still got to check. And they would call for us and kind of yay or nay it. And that's how we navigated the festivals. And it was really great,
Wow.
actually, how well they did with that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It's great. Great.
What would you say, like, is the biggest challenge for guests with allergies and ways that they can overcome it?
Yes. So I think that, we kind of touched on it a little bit. The vigilance is hard because you want to be on vacation and you want to go, it's
Mm,
Disney and they're great with food allergies, and just not have to think about it. And just unfortunately, with food allergies, you can't do that. People are people, and people aren't perfect. And so even with great processes and great protocols and everything in place, stuff can still happen. And so you do have to stay on it. And what I tell clients and what my family always follows by is, if something doesn't feel right, we trust our gut on that. And that's very rarely happened to us at Disney, but it has happened. We were at a restaurant. I won't say which one, but it was super busy while we were there, and we were pretty nervous because we were still kind of getting used to the eating out at Disney with food allergies thing. And now we're a little more relaxed and at it, but we were still pretty on edge. And we had explained our food allergies to the server. The server wasn't giving us the attention and kind of focus in the conversation that we normally have from while we're explaining this. There was still kind of a lot going on. And when he brought the drinks back to our table, the waters and everything, there was actually a large dessert on the tray that was not for our table, containing my son's allergens. And so all of our drinks were kind of around this, and he started putting everything on the table. And so for me, the drinks on the table, whatever, what I'm more concerned about is this isn't right. This isn't normally what happens, right?
mm,
At a Disney restaurant. And so at that point, just based on the way the initial conversation had went, this now happening, it just didn't really feel like the protocols were happening the way they were supposed to be happening. And so we actually just elected to leave and go find food somewhere else. But we did speak to the manager, and the manager was actually pretty upset because in this specific restaurant, there was a breach of protocol, because that dessert that was on the trays for a different table, that actually comes out of a different kitchen. And so the allergy stuff's supposed to be coming out of this one side. And so to actually put them on the same tray is actually a breach of Disney's anyway. So the manager actually was wonderful about it, took it very seriously, addressed the problem. But my point is the server's busy, he's doing his best, like stuff does happen, right? And so we just chose, today's just not our day at this restaurant. We love Disney. We
Yeah.
just went and found something else. And sometimes with food allergy, you have to do that. Is it convenient? No, it's actually really hard sometimes.
yeah.
But that's what I would say to people is, if it doesn't feel right, it's probably not. And so
Yeah.
just lean into that. Don't second guess yourself, and just do whatever you feel you need to do is the right thing for your family in that moment. We're not here to spare feelings. It's like we're dealing with a
Yeah.
serious medical thing.
Yeah.
And so you just got to do what your family's got to do. And we were hopefully to them, gracious about it, and just kind of explain what happened. And the manager was really wonderful about it as well. So
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, as long as you have those conversations, like,
totally.
like
Yes.
we're not comfortable. Here's
Yeah,
why.
just say it's
We're gonna
just
go
not our
somewhere else.
day.
Yeah.
We're just right. Yeah, and this
Yeah.
is why. And they were super understanding and actually gave us some
Yeah.
suggestions of other places to go and helped us with that. I mean, they really were wonderful. But again,
Now, if you start flipping tables, then
yeah, no,
it's probably gonna be
that's where
yeah.
you gotta just you gotta keep your
Right.
cool.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
in that moment we weren't gonna be able to enjoy our meal, because now we're like second guessing
Constantly
everything. And
worrying.
yeah, and
Yeah.
so now it just wasn't right for our family in that moment. Other families might choose to make a different decision, and that's okay too. It's just what's right for that family in that moment. But to trust your instincts is important.
Cool.
Yeah, I feel
Yeah.
like, I mean, especially for someone who's not saying that you have to be confrontational, but someone who, has a little bit more of a, I don't know, difficulty with, like speaking out or,
Yeah.
like you have to, when it comes to safety,
Yeah.
for your family, then it's okay to speak up. But like you said, handle it in an appropriate
Handle with
way.
grace, handle with
Yeah.
understanding. Pack your patient pants. You have to do that, right? I hear that on another. I can't say that that's my line. That's from somebody else, but I think about it all the time because you have to when you're in these parks because it's there's a lot of people and a lot of stuff going on, and you just have to remember that this is Disney and it's a wonderful place, and that's why there's so many people here. So you have to
Yeah.
Right.
just
Absolutely.
Right.
keep your cool. And again, we just tried to say this is what happened and this is just how we feel right now, and they were really wonderful about it. But it is awkward. I mean, that's part, trying to advocate like that can feel uncomfortable, but you know it's if it's the right thing for your family, that's what you got to lean into.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you could recommend for people to like bring with them on their trips to
Oh
help
yeah.
make them feel safer?
Yeah, so there's a few things. I usually send clients a list of more allergy specific things to be bringing. There's kind of the obvious. You need to have your emergency care plan. If you need to have your epinephrine, you need to have whatever's on that plan. I always print that out and have it with you. There's some of those things that food allergy families are kind of used to having to bring with them. But one thing I get asked a lot about is being out in the heat. Epinephrine is a temperature sensitive med, and so being out in the I haven't done this yet. I'm actually a little scared for what August and September is going to be like here in Orlando because I hear the humidity and it's just
Fun
hot.
times.
It's
Fun
fun.
times.
So I'm really looking forward to it. But being out in the heat, if you're going to be out like all day, there's cases out there that actually are for kind of regulating the temperature of the meds while they're in heat, just to keep them at the temp that they're supposed to be.
Hmm.
And those are nice to bring in the park. I also hand wipes, kind of really wet, sudsy hand wipes. And here's why. People in Disney are eating because that's what you do when you go to Disney, and it's awesome. But that means there's food kind of everywhere.
There.
So I'll share one story, and I hope I'm not scaring any families with food allergies because it was fine. But we were one of the very first rides we ever took our kids onto was the teacups at Magic Kingdom. And we're standing in line, and my son is severely allergic to peanuts, and he was still at an age where at the time where kids, they touch stuff, they put their hands in their mouths, and so
My
that's
current
you have to,
life.
you're
Yep.
right, you have to navigate that a little bit differently with food allergy because it's just what it is. And so we're standing in this line with him, and this lady who's not in the queue line comes to, she knows the people in front of us, and she pulled out of her bag, I'm not kidding, is a Costco size bag of like peanuts and cashews and everything that my kid is allergic to, and
Oh
starts
gosh.
digging into the bag and just dumping handfuls of the mix into all of the hands of the people in front of me. And so I'm sitting there, okay, this is new. This is a new scenario. Like, what do I do? Because it's not like we're gonna eat it or my son's gonna eat it, but they're touching the hand railings. They're gonna. I mean, it's now going to
Yeah.
be kind of everywhere that we're going. So what do we do? And so that's just a scenario where having those hand wipes in my bag. We at this point, because my son was so young, we just picked them up because they were spilling it kind of all over the ground. We just kind of dealt with his safety that way. But it made me think, you know what? When we get on the teacup, I'm just gonna take my little hand wipe and I'm gonna wipe the
Wipe it
wheel
down.
because I
Yeah.
have no clue what has gone down in this teacup before we've gotten in here. And my son is still sucking his thumb and is just in that season of life. And so that's what we did. And it's something that's probably sounds really strange to all of you listening that don't have food allergy, but when your kids are that little and they're just in that season
Yeah.
of life, that is actually how we navigated it. Is we had a huge bag of wipes, in our backpacks, and if we noticed people just chowing down on his allergens right in front of us, which actually happened a lot, we just were ready for it, and we could learn how to just not freak out and navigate it that way. So
And that's got to be
That's a
hard too.
great, yeah.
Just like the stress of just like walking around that place. I can imagine the stress that some people go through. That they're like, oh my god.
especially your first time, because you just
Yeah,
don't. I wasn't expecting a Costco size bag
I don't
of
think anybody
all
is
of his
expecting a
allergens.
Costco sized bag.
It just was very bizarre, and like, why right in front of us? Like, why was the timing? Anyway, there's so many other
Yeah.
times we could have gone through this queue line
Yeah,
and not had this experience. That's what I was thinking about. But
that's
it's
awesome.
part of just learning how to navigate. And this is what we have to teach our son is the world is not, the world has your allergens in it everywhere. And so there's things that we can't have, every place not have his allergens. So there is a level of you have to learn how to navigate this. It's just when they're two, you're trying to figure
Yeah.
out, okay, well, what do we do with that?
Yeah,
You start to get the hang of it. We feel like we've gotten used to navigating these situations. I remember our first time on an airplane, when the plane took off. We were in the back, like the very back, like the seats that nobody wants, like right in front of the bathroom. This is where we're sitting, and the plane is taking off, and it's now kind of at an incline and a slant, and all the food that had been dropped started rolling to the back, like to where we were sitting. And so
Oh gosh.
there were definitely crushed peanuts down there, like definitely stuff
Mm,
that he's allergic to down there. And so again, you just learn how to navigate these scenarios, and the
yeah,
more that you do it, the more experience you have. And that's one of the things that I'm really passionate about in working with the clients that I do is when I was trying to navigate this, I honestly felt really alone. Like nobody else is trying to figure out what to do with peanuts rolling around on the airplane. Like I just felt like I'm this mom trying to figure out how do you navigate this stuff. And I really love getting to meet with these other families, to share stories, to give them tips and tricks that I just didn't have on our first few trips, and really empower people with how to actually navigate and travel with food allergies, because it's definitely doable and it is definitely possible. And it is really nerve wracking the first few times, but
yeah.
you learn, and you learn what you need to do. You learn what's right for your family, where your different comfort levels are, where the places you like to go are, and that's what I really love to get to do, is kind of open travel up for families. I have a lot of families who the trip that I have booked for them, this will be their first time that they've traveled since their kid was diagnosed. And so to just get to be a part of that, to get to come alongside that and encourage and empower people is really exciting. And I don't know, it's meaningful. It's meaningful to me
Yeah.
to get
Hmm.
to open that up for families.
That's cool.
Yeah.
that's awesome. I know. I think I might take me some hand wipes. Even before COVID,
We always do.
like we already
Always.
had, like we've already been like a germaphobe kind of
Oh,
family. Like
COVID helps because now it's like everybody's wiping, so I don't feel
yes, so you don't feel weird. But
totally
like
Yeah.
weird.
even before, yes,
Yeah.
like when it first happened, like I already had a bunch of hand sanitizer, so I wasn't like worried about running out because it was something that I've already done.
Yes.
But I never really thought about it from an allergy standpoint to where, touching on the surface,
Mhm.
Hmm.
um, that
It's
you could
easier now
potentially,
that my kids are
touch
older.
something that could be harmful. So,
Right, because 'cause they're not, like, sticking their hands in their eyes and their mouth all the time like they do when
Yep.
they're little, so it is
yeah,
easier to navigate this now. But for the families
yeah,
that are in that season, there are some kinda curveballs thrown your way, like going to the playground, for example. I never, ever noticed food on a playground until my kid was crawling on it with food allergies, and, like, the amount of just gross food.
yeah,
It's just like all over. Anyway, so there's just things that
yeah,
you don't think about. I certainly didn't until we were kind of in it as
yeah,
a family. And so getting to connect with other families who are kind of having a similar experience, and just to validate that, like they're not crazy for wondering, like, what am I
Hmm.
supposed to do about that?
yeah,
It's really been an encouraging experience for me to connect with them, hopefully them with me. it's really been nice to get to do that.
That's awesome. Yeah. So just, I guess, wrapping up here,
Mm-hmm.
do you have any final thoughts or anything that you'd like to share, with families with allergies? And then also, as you're wrapping up that as well, if you want to, I know that you mentioned that you have a blog. So if you want to put that out there for folks to kind of connect with you too, we'd be happy for you to share that.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. So this blog I started with a dear friend whose children also have food allergies. And so we kind of put our heads together and created this blog on Instagram. It's called the Food Allergy Moms. So if you go at the Food Allergy Moms, that's kind of where we hang out. And then my specific travel account is connected to that. It's Lauren Miller Travel. And really my focus is working with clients who have food allergies. You don't have to have food allergies to work with me, but I work with a lot of families who do. And really what I would just want to say to them and to the people listening is that it really is possible to start to create these memories and these experiences with your family. There was a season where I really didn't know how we were going to do this. I didn't know how we were going to travel, how we were going to eat at a restaurant, how we were going to navigate a lot of these things. And it really felt isolating. It felt really discouraging. And I didn't really truly know or understand if it was possible. And I just want to say that it is, and that there are people who do understand it and who do get it, and who are here to come alongside your family. And I would be honored to be one of those people.
That's cool.
Awesome.
Great.
All right. We whipped through it all. You're looking at me.
Yeah. No, that was cool. Like, I'll say, like, I definitely appreciate your input. I definitely learned a lot of stuff from you. And, it was great having you on the episode and just kind of hearing, a different side of Disney that, I don't have allergies. My wife doesn't have allergies. My kids don't have allergies. Like, it's something that we go through our lives just not worrying about.
Right.
So just to hear your side of the house and just to get to like I honestly never ask any of my clients, do you have any allergies? Like, and that's something I probably should start asking them. Like, it's just the things that you don't think about that are super helpful.
Right.
And so I really appreciate you giving your side of, your side of Disney and what it's like for you guys to go.
Absolutely. There's such a great feeling. Disney actually will label your food. They put in an allergy stick. I don't know if you've seen these at the restaurants, but pay attention next time. You might see like a little purple stick or a little wooden stick sticking out of the food on the top. And that's flagging to the table, to the servers from the kitchen that this was prepared for an allergy family. At this table, and so that's how they're separating it. So oftentimes at the table, my son's food will come out separately, and then they'll bring the other 3 plates. And so just having that, for some reason, every time that shows up at our table, it's just like you feel understood, you feel cared for, and Disney does it so well. And I would say yes, I would definitely ask your clients. This could be a whole other podcast, but why so many people are now having such serious food allergies. We need to figure that out. It's not okay. We're talking millions of kids at this point. It's the statistic last I checked, I don't have the current one, but it's basically 2 per classroom, if you think about it that way. That's a lot of kids, like almost 6 million kids. And so and that's just the kids. Like, we're not talking about the families and the adults. There's tons of adults living with food allergies. And so and our friends with celiac disease and just different dietary needs that people have. So it's definitely something that I'm so glad Disney is attentive to. And they really are a leader in this as a destination. Not every destination is doing what Disney is doing. So.
Awesome. Cool. Awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. We really appreciate you coming on. I know it's a little bit later for you. So we appreciate you. Yeah. We appreciate you hanging out with us, and definitely was a great episode, and also learned a lot, just like Fred.
Yeah. Thank you so much for letting me come talk about this and share this with you, and being a part of what you guys are doing with your podcast. It's really exciting.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. So next week next week, we'll put this out there too. We were a little behind this week with with some promotions. Fred was super busy and I was ill. So we'll do a better job this week promoting, but next week we're actually going to go live on Monday, the 26th, and not Sunday. And we'll be interviewing Rule Campbell, who is the business development manager for Virgin Voyages. So super fun cruise line. Super excited to meet with him. I met him in person once, a presentation. He does a really good job explaining Virgin. So super excited for that. Fred, you making a face? Did we forget that it was on Monday?
I'm just super excited to I love
okay.
Disney,
I was
but
like,
I'm excited to get away from Disney for an episode because I feel
yes, because we haven't done
Disney
any
kick since
cruises. Yeah. We talked about Disney cruise, but we haven't done anything outside of the cruise line. So super fun. Yep. Awesome. Back to you, Fred.
Okay, cool.
I swung it back to you this week to close out.
I see that. Okay, cool. Well, if you're looking for more information about going beyond the castle, and of course to request any quotes for any trips that you may want, you can always find our website at goingbeyondthecastle.com. It is definitely still in the works, but has links to, has info about Lori and I, has information about the podcast, and has the ability to request a quote for a lot of different destinations. If you're looking for any of our social media channels, our Beacons channel, beacons.ai/going beyond the castle, has where you can watch us live each week, as both Lori and I social media pages, as well as the Going Beyond the Castle social media pages, and where you can find our audio only version of the podcast each week. And then, of course, if you want to reach out to us, we're always looking for people to join us on the podcast. We're always looking for more ideas of what we can talk about on podcasts. And of course, if you're just interested in a vacation quote, you can always reach out to us at info@goingbeyondthecastle.com. And back to Lori.
Back to me. All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us. Super excited to have you all with us. We look forward to next week. And until then, keep dreaming, keep exploring, and keep going beyond the castle.
Bye. Getting in there. There it goes. Okay.